And we are on the third question in the series. I am answering the 5 questions given in the video, 5 Questions for Atheist by God is Real 101. The third question is, do you have faith or hope in anything you can't see? If so, what do you have faith or hope in? Another, I think, interesting question. Do I have faith or hope in something I can't see? That part of the question strikes me as a little odd. In something you can't see. What does it mean to have faith or hope in something that you can see? It would have been a lot easier to answer this had you given some kind of explanation for these questions. One thing that I commonly hear when I discuss faith with believers is they will say, you atheists have faith too. For example, when you sat down in that chair, you had faith that it would hold you up, that it wouldn't simply collapse because you sat in it. And in that sense, that's true. That is faith, I guess. It is a belief, a trust. I trust that that chair will hold me up. But I don't equate that kind of faith as the same thing as religious faith. It's similar in the sense that religious faith is also a trust. But in the case of a chair, I have experience to draw on. I have probability and odds to draw on. Out of all the chairs that I've sat in my life, I'm sure only a couple of them ended up collapsing, and then there may have been 1 or 2. So just by playing the odds, if I sit in another chair, the odds are it's not going to collapse. So faith in that sense is not really so much faith, but trust in the fact that things go like normal, that unusual events are indeed unusual and rare, and that a chair collapsing out from under you is an unusual event rather than a normal expected event. So, I don't know, does that count as faith in something you can see? Faith in a chair? Faith or hope in something in anything you can't see. Do I have hopes? Yeah, of course I have hopes. I hope my wife does well in her college classes. I hope my children grow up to be happy. I hope that a lot of general things like that. And I don't know, do those count as something I can't see? I suppose I can see my children's happiness, and I will eventually. I can see it now if I talk to them, and talking to them 10, 20 years from now, I'll be able to see it then. Does that count as faith or hope in something I can't see? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. One thing I do know is that for a religious believer, faith plays a more central role in your life than it does for an atheist. So to say that an atheist doesn't have any kind of faith or hope is obviously nonsense. I mean, we're human beings like any other. We have faith and hope in all the same things that other human beings have, except that we don't have that huge central faith in a religious sense. And how is that different than like faith in the chair? Well, let's take an example from the Bible. When Jesus calls Peter out onto the water from the boat. Now, in a sense, this kind of faith is opposite from the kind of faith of the chair. In the faith of the chair, I've sat down in many chairs in my life, hundreds, thousands of times. And I expect the chair to act the same way it did those other hundreds and thousands of times. Whereas when Jesus is asking Peter to step out on the water, Peter was a fisherman. He had been out on the water hundreds, maybe thousands of times. He has thrown nets into the water. He's stepped out of the boat into the water to pull it to shore. And in none of those cases could he stand on the water, or could something solid and heavy rest on the water. So he has experience behind him telling him no, that this absolutely cannot happen. And yet he had faith in Jesus. He trusted in him. Apparently not as much, because Jesus says, of course, famously, "Oh, ye of little faith," but he ends up stepping out there anyway. He stumbles a little bit, Jesus catches him. You know the story. But the point being, That is the kind of faith that is religious faith. It is faith not uh, going along with what is expected with experience, but kind of going against it. It is faith in something that otherwise wouldn't seem to be true, but because, I trust in the Lord, because whatever, I believe that it's going to be true this time. And that kind of faith, I don't think it's a good thing. And that's why I try not to have that in my life. And I don't have that toward anything that I know of. Okay, this was an extra long one. One thing I'd like to mention again is, given that I've answered your question, I'd like your commentary on this question, what you mean behind it, what kind of point you're trying to make with this question, and how my answer fits into that. I'd be very interested to hear that. Thank you.